Today we're going to talk about measuring equipment. Again, an extremely short video, just to try and get some ideas in your head. How do we measure length, volume, and mass? That's what we're going to talk about. Sometimes mass is called weight. All right? We can measure length with lots of things. We can measure length with rulers, just regular straight rulers. We can measure length with these soft rulers. For example, if you were measuring, I don't know, your waist or something and you wanted to wrap it around your waist. We can measure distance by someone walking down a road with one of these little round things that goes and checks how far you've gone and keeps track of it up on a little meter. We have down here an odometer. An odometer on your car keeps track of how far you've gone in miles. That's distance. And this thing is called a micrometer. It measures very, very small distances in here and gives you a reading out here of what it is. Okay? But now when we are measuring something in a chemistry lab, chances are, if we're measuring length, we are going to use a meter stick. And you're only seeing part of a meter stick here, but that's what we would tend to use in a lab. How do we measure volume? Well, volume is how much space something takes up. We might use a cup measure if we were in a kitchen. Right? You see this beaker over here? We never use a beaker to measure volume. But you say, well, wait a minute. It tells me it's 100 milliliters up here. Yeah, it does. Okay, and it's very imprecise, right? And frankly, this is pretty imprecise too. All right, but when we are doing chemistry experiments, we need to be very precise in our measurements of volume. So we will tend to use one of two things. This is a volumetric flask over here. And let's say that this is a 1,000 milliliter volumetric flask. I have no idea what it is, but let's say it's 1,000 milliliters. All right. You'll notice this little line up here. This little line has been etched into the volumetric flask, and that is almost exactly 1,000 milliliters, if this is a 1,000 milliliter flask. If it was a 500 milliliter flask, then it would be 500. But bottom line is, it is very, very, very precise. Now, if you want to measure out 900 milliliters, this doesn't do you a bit of good. Okay? This will measure exactly 1,000. All right? So most of the time when we want to measure something, we want to use a graduated cylinder. All right? And a graduated cylinder will be used to measure however many milliliters of liquid that we need to work with for volume. Okay? Now, there are lots of ways that we measure weight. All right? You might stand on a bathroom scale in the morning to see how much you weigh, or if you caught a big fish, you might put it on one of these scales that's up here to measure what the weight is of a fish. All right? Now, in our case in a chemistry lab, the way to actually measure mass is with a triple beam balance, and that measures mass exactly. Now, we also have these electronic scales now that we have that measure mass. So you may use, what we will probably use in class when you are working in a chemistry lab experiment will be an electronic balance, right? And that measures weight or mass, right? In our case, we're going to be measuring mass in grams. All right, so to measure length, we're going to use some sort of ruler, typically a meter stick. To measure volume, you probably are going to use a graduated cylinder in class. And to measure mass, you would use an electronic balance scale. That's what you need to know. Do the worksheet, come to class, take your test, and you'll be ready to move on. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.